Welcome back to the YouTube channel, a Smart Transportation Division, Local 744. I'm Adam West. Today we're going to be looking at T&E earning statements. T&E earning statements are available late Tuesday or early Wednesday following payday Friday. The claim can be in paid, research, or declined status. The maximum amount of payroll recovery is $250 per paycheck. Please review the T&E recovery screen and YouTube video for further detail. Conductor rate codes, rate service, KS2, trip rate is based upon trip rate agreement. The rate code is determined by the number of cars handled. The rate code defines overtime, held away, the pay rate of those items. Example, if no cars are handled, then you can expect to see a rate code of 250. And likewise, if you handled 175 cars, you can expect a rate code of 258. Yard service, KS5, and road switcher, KS4, are based upon 100 miles 5-day week rate. Road switchers over 100 miles will have overmiles added to them. Overtime starts based upon the amount of overmiles. Overtime is a basic based on basic rate divided by 8 hours and then multiplied by 1.5. Example, a basic 100 mile at yard rate is code 551. That's the only thing you should ever see in a yard job or KS4 is rate code at 551. Engineer rate code, determined by the number of axles multiplied by 67,000 pounds, equals the weight on the driver. Example, yard service or road switcher in service with only one 4-axle locomotive multiplied by the weight equals 268,000 pounds, which is a rate code of 507. Likewise, 4 6-axle locomotives multiplied by 67,000 pounds equals 1,608,000 pounds, which is rate code of 535. Rate codes defines the rate of which overtime, halt pay, held away from home terminal pay, of last service performed, etc. Freight service for an engineer. Trip rate agreement determines the daily rate, while overtime, halt pay, and other pay is based upon rate codes. Yard service KS5, road switcher KS4. The daily rate is based upon number of weight on the driver locomotive axles. Overtime is based upon the rate code and added to any miles beyond 100. Overtime is based on the rate code. Overtime starts when the daily rate or when 100 miles plus overtime, whichever is greater. Example, 138-mile road switcher, which we have 3 of them at Lafayette. They start overtime around 10 hours and 2 minutes. Lonesome pay is a frozen rate and diminishes with overmiles and completely vanishes at 46 overmiles. Navigate to the current rates. Let's go find them. On the CSX gateway here, we're going to go to pay, rates, non-train service rates. You can find your trip rate for your trip rate agreements here. Scroll to the bottom to find your current one. Non-train service rates such as meal matrix, national rates. Here's the engine and train service. For some reason they left the filters turned on when they saved this file last, so boom. Now let's go down to conductor, freight service, no cars handled, the high rate, and the number of cars here, 0 to 80. I know it says weight on driver here, but it's the number of cars handled. Um, and you can see the rate goes up depending on how many cars you handled. There is the yard rate there, 551. It doesn't matter how many cars you got. Boom, that's it. All right. Darn, the filters, are they on here? Must be. Yep. All right. So, say we're going to kind of service 2. And the 11 right here, 211. Here's weight on drivers. You'll have to take the axles of that day times the 67,000 pounds. This 211 right here, that is for a single 6-axle. Go scrolling down to yard service here. And depending on how many locomotives you have, the service rate does go up. I do believe I said this number right here, I think was 4 6-axles. So the pay does go up depending on how much axles are on a locomotive engineer. And that's how you find your rate codes in there. Again, your trip rate agreements are all based in here. And your meal matrix are in the non-trip rate. Where to find the current ones. Paid leave, a week of vacation is 1/52 of last year's pay. Daily vacation day is 1/365 of last year's pay. Personal leave day, conductors equal to the rate of last service performed. Engineers rate of 500,000 pounds of weight on driver of last class of service performed. Info on claims. Claims must be made within 60 days of the date of occurrence in which the claim or grievance is based upon. Research. The conductor's original disallowance of any claim or grievance made shall be made in writing within 60 days from the date the claim or grievance is so made. Engineers. The final disposition of a claim will be shown on the earning statement furnished the employees by the 4th pay period following pay period in which the claim was received. So they receive the claim in one pay period. They have 4, has to be on the 4th, by the 4th, has to be on the 4th pay period after the one they received it on. Decline claims. Decline claims need to be appealed within 90 days of declination. You need to hand these over to your local chairman a sufficient amount of time to handle these claims. Don't hit your local chairman with the claim at the last minute. Your local chairman is probably pretty busy. I request the membership to at least give me 45 days to put in claims. Held away or halt pay. Conductor, while at the away from home terminal, 16 hours, you go on to halt pay for 8 hours, and then back off for 16, then back on for 8, and so forth. Engineers, while at the away from home terminal, after 15 hours, the engineer will go on continuous halt pay. The engineer's agreement, I do believe Article 9 will have more information about this. Corrections to halt payments, you can use code HA for assent, and payroll will decline it and make corrections. If you're EQ or CQ, use code Q9 for halt for the full amount, and turn in your code 80s for meal allowance. When you're an engineer qualifier, conductor qualifier, uh, meals are not automatic. Conductor trainees, engineer trainees, the meals are not automatic. Make sure you turn your code 80 for that using the meal matrix here. And for assignments at EQ, CQs, make sure you use Q9. The meal matrix goes for 4 or more hours, $10. 12 or more hours, $20 for a conductor. You need to have an underline for correction here because of Rule 103. Review the claim and meal correction there on this YouTube channel. And then the engineers, code 80 for making corrections if you find errors. The L415 and L416 at Monon. Make sure you, when you're reviewing your T&E earning statements, that you find a code 90 for 64 miles each day for reimbursement for use of personal vehicle to fill these vacancies. You're only entitled to this claim if you are filling vacancies. Other info. Watch out for daylight savings times in November and the possibility of shortage of overtime, halt pay, and other pay issues due to the clock flipping back to 2 a.m. for the second time in a single calendar day. At Lafayette, I have a pay simplified sheet. On the front page here, we have the yard jobs and road switchers, the daily rate of which over miles rate, overtime per hour rate. Your code ST, how much that should be, your certification card amount, lonesome pay, code 19, totals, and when overtime starts. Same here for these other three locals that have 38 over miles, making them a claim of 138 miles when you claim it on your time ticket. Yard jobs doesn't have a miles claim section in it, but the L415 does, and it's a straight 100-mile day. There's no over miles. Basic day in yard and road switcher is 100 miles. The 38 here is the addition, so it makes these three jobs here 138 miles. Overtime starts down here. We have the biweekly rates of the extra boards and conductor training phases, engineer training phases. Trip rate agreements. Again, these numbers are based upon rates codes. Overtime and held away. The trip rate for one way on the F2 pool, round trip rate on F2 pool. Middle pool, one way, OF, round way. So, OE, basic trip rate, is applicable to all service reporting off duty and remain either at home, immediate, or away from home terminals. This rate includes short, long turnarounds, relief service, work trains, all separate services, terminal to terminal deadheads. Deadheads combined with these services are included in the basic trip rates. That's an OE right here. An OF, round trip rate, is applicable to all trains, continuous deadhead services beginning at the home terminal, arriving to the away from home terminal, then combining with either a train or a continuous deadhead service from the away from home terminal with termination back at the home terminal. This means that you have to make it to your away from home terminal here in order to get the OF rate. If you fall short of making it to your away from home terminal, you only get an OE rate. Con code TA to make a correction if found to be the improper rate. Take a quick break here right before I get into examples. Hit the subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest and greatest on this channel. Hit the like button to let me know that this is being helpful to you. All right, let's get into some examples here. I put everything in one screen here so we don't have to keep going back to the Excel sheet, back to the pay thing, back to my cheat sheet, all that good stuff. So, January 3rd, there's a B, $796.28. Here's the CP for $5. Here's an OF rate for $396.95. So it's a middle pool here. OF $396.95. $5 certification. Turns out the person did not have more than 12 hours and 22 minutes on duty to get the overtime. I left another example in here. The rate code, I included a rate code down here. The rate code for this overtime calculation. So it's GO 8828, OE one way, 275.26. $75.26, $5 for the certification pay, and the overtime, 56 minutes. So what we got to do to figure out the overtime is we look at the rate code, and it was between 81 cars and 105 cars, so it's 254, which is 254, which is correct. Now we take this high rate number here, we divide it by 8, and then we take that by 1.5, and then we multiply it by the amount of overtime. Boom, numbers match. We're good. Here's a example conductor F2. So M642, 28 OE, it's going one way. So trip rate here matches. All right. We got the certification, $5. That's good. And then we got the trip coming home. $5 certification, OE rate. This person handled only between 0 and 80 cars both trips home. There too. 251 rate code. 251. Sometimes, rarely, do I find an issue where this is like 151, which is passenger service. It does happen. That's why I'm trying to get attention here to the rate code column. All right, so we have two things to find out: halt pay and overtime. So we got halt pay, overtime. Halt pay is based upon last class of service performed, which is why I left the Q64208 in there, 251, so that makes it pretty easy. And the overtime, 251. They're in a hotel. Here's code 84, $20 in meals. All right, so alt pay, take the high rate, divide by 8. There you go. My number is slightly less than their number. Don't know why that is. All right, overtime. And again, somehow they ended up higher number than I did. I'm not quite sure, but math looks good. Okay, anyways, that checks out. Ting, ting. If they want to pay more than they should have to, then whatever. Yard conductor. Here we go. February 16th, got rate code 551. That's all you're ever going to see. CPE certification, boom. And the regular rate at 100 miles. Yeah, that matches. Cool. Okay. Overtime. So what we have here is we got 3 hours, 51 minutes times the overtime rate at the top of the card. Hey, here we go. Okay, local 551 rate code. Even though it's kind of service 4, 551 rate code here. All right. Code 98, conductor trainee pay. All right. DP, $5 for certification. And the 396.71 matches the L314, 138 claim miles. Boom, 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 boom. Works. Engineer F1. So they got trip rate here, OE here. So we look here, 315.43. That's correct. Awesome. Here's lonesome pay, 346, and engineer carrying right there. This is the amount of weight he had on the axles this day. No overtime or anything to do math upon here. All right, F2. Here we go. Got the M64418 going up. Got the $5 certification, the 320, boom, boom, of OE. Here's lonesome pay. Had 44 minutes of overtime. So this is the 219 correct weight, 219. High rate, 315.19. Divide by 8 equals that. Times 1.5 equals that. So the overtime rate times only 44 minutes equals 43.32. Matches. And the overtime going home. Again, still 219. Wait, makes things simplified. And yeah, 6 cents more. Oh, okay. Anyways, matches. I got to make sure your meals are good. And code 81. Sure it's the appropriate amount, matching the meal matrix. All right, let's move on. Engineer yard. Okay, so we got a Y35008 engineer card, certification card, $5. Yard job, so it's 100 miles, basic rate 330. Because of the rate code being a 519 there, boop, boop, and 330. So this is more weight on the driver than the cheat sheet. So that's why I had to look at the rate codes as an engineer. So basic day there, overtime, boop, 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 matches. All right. Engineer local. All right, so we have the got 3 locals on here. Car carrying 100 miles for the L4 14, and the reason why this is because they went on overtime earlier. Remember, I said that they get 100 miles plus overtime, or the miles plus over miles, whichever is greater. So it took them down to 100 automatically and paid them the overtime. Again, let's say 511 was the weight. It was 1/6 axle, and then we extrapolate that out to get the correct amount of overtime. Cool. And then the next 2 days, they matched the 138 miles. The overtime earned, as you see, lonesome pay here is a penny more than I got in the cheat sheet. I think I better make that correction in my cheat sheet. All right, anyways. And that's it for the examples there. Thanks for sticking with me. This is quite a long video, but T&E Earning Statements is a complicated subject. Anyways, if you have any further questions, please reach out to me. I would be glad to help you out one-on-one. I'm Adam West of Smart Transportation Division. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.